Dana White once claimed that women would never fight in the UFC, which in hindsight was pretty short-sighted, and Ronda Rousey became the first woman signed to the promotion back in 2012. She would go on to open the door for scores of female fighters, some of whom have attracted many male fans. Today, we're discussing the top 10 hottest female fighters ever to grace the UFC's octagon. Don't go anywhere. At 10, it's Alexandra Albu. Russian-Moldovan fighter Alexandra Albu turned out for the top MMA promotion from 2015 until 2019. The karate, CrossFit, and bodybuilding competitor started off her UFC career in the strawweight division with back-to-back wins, stopping Isabella Buderick via guillotine and then scoring a decision win against Kaylin Curran. However, she couldn't keep her impressive start, and the 5'3" blonde beauty lost the last two fights in her UFC stint. She was submitted by Emily Whitmire in February 2019 before going on to lose a split decision against Loma Lookboonmee. With a record of 2-2 in the UFC, Albu and the company decided to part ways back in February 2021, sadly for her fans. However, you can still get a glimpse of her if you sign up to one of her CrossFit classes. At 9, it's Jin Yu Frey. Stay with us. Korean-American beauty Jin Yu Frey actually fought for the Invicta Atomweight Championship back in 2016, losing via doctor stoppage against Ayaka Hamasaki. Following the disappointment, she stuck around to challenge once again for the title, winning the vacant belt against Mina Grusander in July 2018. However, the 5'2" brunette was soon poached by the UFC, where she has since appeared 5 times. She has an indifferent record of 2-3 in the promotion so far, last appearing just 2 months ago in the strawweight division. She is set to take on Polyana Viana at the UFC Fight Night 214 in November, so hopefully she doesn't damage that beautiful face in the process. Are you a fan of the BJJ purple belt? Let us know your favorite below. Felice Herrig is number 8. Having recently retired, Herrig has since made good use of her looks by opening up an OnlyFans account where she, quite bizarrely, sells her used socks. Having turned out for various promotions in her early career, Herrig signed up for the UFC in 2014, making her debut against Lisa Ellis, which she won via armbar submission. The blonde brawler then lost to another fighter who will feature on this list, Paige Van Zandt, before winning her next 4 in a row. However, she would lose the next 4 before calling it a career. Herrig was also a solid kickboxer with a record of 23-5 before making the transition into MMA. But whatever happens next, we're sure she will have a pretty big male or female following. What was the best performance of Herrig's career in your opinion? Number 7 is Thug Rose. Rose Namajunas is probably the most successful fight on our list today, having won the women's strawweight title on 2 occasions. These days, you'll find her with a shaved head in the octagon, but she is still strikingly beautiful. Earlier in her career, she would turn out with long hair, but decided to shave it off until her MMA career comes to a close, so it simply doesn't get in her way. Fair enough. Last time out, Rose was involved in one of the worst title fights in UFC history, as she was relieved of her belt in the second fight with Carla Esparza. However, she will almost certainly be back to challenge once again after she has gone away and taken stock of the situation. Unfortunately for fans of the 5'5" beauty, she's currently in a long-term relationship with former UFC heavyweight Pat Barry. Sorry about that, guys. In at 6, we have Rowdy Ronda. As we mentioned above, Ronda Rousey was an absolute trailblazer for women's MMA. When she burst onto the scene in the early 2010s, she was also one of the sport's more remarkable stars. As it turns out, she was super hot. And she wasn't just winning fights, she was blitzing through her opponents, arm-barring people into oblivion in the process. Once Dana White realized how much money the company could make through someone who looked like Ronda, the floodgates were then opened to female fighters. However, no one has had the impact she has had yet. But Dana can always live in the hope that one day another Ronda Rousey will be unearthed. Were you a Ronda fan? At 5, it's Mackenzie Dern. Stay tuned. Dern is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu prodigy and has a long grappling record. Universally recognized as one of the hottest fighters on the UFC's rosters, Dern currently has a record of 12-2 MMA. Having won a large majority of the fights she's taken part in so far. One of the most skilled jiu-jitsu practitioners on the ladies roster, Dern was in the midst of a title run in the strawweight division before coming up against Marina Rodriguez last year. She lost a unanimous decision to throw a spanner in the works, but got back on track against Tecia Torres recently. It is thought that Dern, currently number 5 in the rankings, is well placed for a run at strawweight gold should she beat Yan Xiaonan next time out. And with a smile like that, we're sure she can charm her opponent to death, am I right? Michelle Watterson is coming through at 4, stick around. Almost certainly the cutest and most innocent-looking fighter on the entire roster, you would be remiss to take Karate Hottie lightly. Currently number 11 in the strawweight rankings, Watterson seems to have been around forever, and before turning out for the UFC actually plied her trade at Invicta FC, where she was their atomweight champion. Now a 12-fight veteran of the UFC, her record is completely balanced, having won 6 and lost 6, and if you want to see more of the diminutive star, you simply have to follow her on social media, as she is pretty active across sites like Instagram. Are you a Karate Hottie fan? We certainly are. Give us your thoughts below. And at number 3, we're talking Rachel Ostovich. Brendan Schaub once famously told listeners of Joe Rogan's podcast he would risk it all for Ostovich, giving you some idea of how hot the former UFC flyweight is. Unfortunately, her MMA ability wasn't quite up to the same high standards as her looks, and after 3 losses out of 4 in the UFC, she was cut back in 2020. Since then, the Hawaiian beauty has turned out for Bare Knuckle FC, losing her first fight last summer. Ostovich was also the victim of a domestic abuse case in 2018 with her husband, Arnold Burden, later jailed for the attack. What a coward. She's currently without a promotion and has recently said she will consider any combat sport which pays her the big dollars. We get it, Rachel. At number 2, we're talking about Miesha Tate. Possibly the only one on today's list who can rival Rose's achievements in the octagon, Tate shocked the world back in 2016 after submitting to champion Holly Holm, one of the prettiest fighters on the roster. Tate's legions of adoring male fans went wild in celebration of her unlikely victory, as she finally shut those detractors up who had suggested she was only on the UFC's roster for her insane looks. Having recently returned to the UFC fold after nearly 5 years out, Tate has yet again won plenty of adoring fans, not only for her exciting fighting style, but her fantastic curves. However long she stays around in the promotion and whatever she goes on to do in the future, she will forever be remembered for winning the title in such exciting fashion back in 2016, whilst also being remembered as one of the best looking UFC fighters ever. Who's your favorite? And the sexiest female fighter ever on the UFC's roster goes to Paige Van Zandt. This one was literally a no-brainer. As hot as Miesha Tate might be, there's simply no comparison to Paige Van Zandt. Whilst Miesha is definitely a better fighter, Paige is more gifted in the looks department and has used her God-given looks to her benefit in her post-UFC career. Often seen modeling different products on her social media channels, it's no surprise why, given her insane looks. She's also turned out for WWE as well as appearing on Dancing with the Stars. However, much like Rosa Namajunas, you guys have literally no chance when it comes to a potential date with Paige, as she's married to Bellator middleweight Austin Vandervoort, who regularly appears in her raunchy photos and videos on social media. He also fought for the middleweight title last year, so he's not about to give Paige up easily. Sorry guys, who's your favorite female fighter? And let us know if we've missed anyone off of our list today. As usual, thanks for dropping in on us today, and remember to tune in again next time when we will be discussing all sorts of other cool bits and pieces. And why not do us a solid by liking today's video and sharing it with any MMA heads you may know of, or just fans of the girls on our list today. Bye guys.